Guys, welcome to a completely impromptu Working with the NPP Group series where Jake has just come straight off the floor and asked me questions around angel investment. And as I was meant to be working with Hannah, who's strategically positioned behind the camera, I've said, Jake, we're videoing, just come in, ask me the question. So sorry to throw you into the deep end, buddy, but what are you on about?
Yeah, so just got off the call with an investor who's bought their first property. Yeah. That's going really well, but they don't have the capital to buy a second. Now they're wanting to build their portfolio quite efficiently, quite quickly, and they were throwing around the ideas of using angel investors. Cool. So I obviously come to you, Mike. I know that you have experience in the past and wanted to tap into that knowledge. So I suppose the first thing is, can it be done with angel investors?
Yeah, cool. Nothing like getting put on the spot. Yeah, so angel investors, yes, of course, it can be done with angel investors. Certainly at the beginning of our property journey, we used angel investors. To rewind, if anybody doesn't know what an angel investor is, it's basically private lending, private finance. So people, individuals, or it could be businesses, loaning money at an interest rate, kind of like mini banks. What I love about angel investment is a few things. When you've built good relationships, it is quick and easy. Whilst I know you've been through a few mortgages, like getting mortgages, bridge lending, development finance, the paperwork, the due diligence they go through, the legals they go through, seriously heavy. When you've built good relationships with good angel investors, it can be as simple as, "Hi Jake, got a great deal. What's your cash doing? Do you want 8% on it?" Yeah. And honestly, I mean, we've got some guys that have had hundreds of thousands of pounds to and fro with us over the last 5 years for, three or four times. So how you can scale your portfolio using angel investors is, well, I had a strategy at one time, and I actually know quite a few people who built their whole portfolio with very little capital using this. So I think there's sort of two types of angel investors. We have a capital angel investor and a cash flow angel investor. So let's say you've got a capital angel investor who's got £100,000 or £200,000 and they want a return on that money, but they're happy to wait for that return until the end of the loan period. Let's say we took their money for a year, and with that money we went and we bought a house, did the refurb and went to refinance the property. So if we spent best part of £200,000 from that angel on this deal, obviously you've got to factor in the interest rate for them. Then you refinanced and managed to pull all your money out. You can give them the cash back and the property's yours. That's the dream, isn't it? Obviously, doesn't happen that much in this or probably any future markets. But this is where the second angel comes in. So what I call a cash flow angel. Now you want to try and close your cash flow angels on as reduced an interest rate as possible, but 8%, still a good percentage return for an angel investor who doesn't actually know how to get a return on their money. We'll talk about that in a second. What you can then do is, say in this deal, we've actually ended up leaving £30,000 in the deal, and you're thinking, well, this is a car crash for me, I don't have the capital. Yeah. You plug in second angel investor for that deposit or the cash that's left in the deal, and you service them from your rent. If you've done a good deal, it'll stack, and you'll actually be able to service the angel investor from the rent and still probably cash flow. But the point is, you own the asset, you're gaining capital appreciation over time, and you don't have any of your money actually in it. So it's a bit of a complicated scenario and procedure, but it's very doable. I know a lot of people who scaled their portfolios that way.
Yeah. And what about if, let's say, they're looking at an investment and people are looking for these investments where they can get all the cash back out, but let's say the deal doesn't quite happen that way. What can someone do to actually service that investor, let's say the 8% that they owe in interest? How would they do that? How would they go about paying them back? Well,
it's really simple. It's just making sure that the terms with your angel investor are specific for that deal. So look at it this way. Probably the simplest way of explaining it is if we've done a previous video looking at £100,000 houses and £25,000 deposits. So if we go back to that one, you might have done a buy, refurbish, refinance, and this money's left in, but it actually even works just going, "Oh mate, have you got any cash that you want to return on?" "Yeah, I do, but I'd want it at 8%. Most people don't know how to get a return on their money. It's not a normal part of education that we're taught. So there are a lot of people out there, a hell of a lot more people than you think, close to you with little pots of cash that you could use in this way. So here's an example. £100,000 house, £25,000 deposit from the angel investor at 8%. Yeah. You've then taken a 75% mortgage, buy-to-let mortgage. The cash flow, the rent on this house is £650 per calendar month. The mortgage is at a 4% interest rate. If I remember rightly, that's £250 a month. So £250 off your £650, you're left with £400 worth of cash flow per month. But you're my angel investor in the deal at £25,000 deposit that I borrowed from you at 8%. I can't actually do that math, but I'm guessing it's around 220 quid, circa that number. Obviously, I've got the £400, so I can afford to pay you 230. I'm still cash flowing 170 in that scenario. Can't be a million miles away. All right, the £170 a month, for instance, hasn't changed my world. No, but I'm in the game. I'm cash flowing. I don't have any of my own money in the property. If I've managed to get the uplift capital appreciation over time, what can you do? 5 years from now, take a guess.
A lot.
Yeah, so you refinance the property in 5 years time, pull that cash out, repay your investor, and you're off. So it's about, I guess, just having a real solution mindset. Money shouldn't be the problem, and that's easy to say when you've got it, but tell you what, when you've actually got some cash in your building portfolio, you start to do bigger projects, money just becomes an even bigger problem. Having a real solution orientation towards that and thinking about how it can be done. So that's probably the simplest way you could work with an angel investor.
Just going back a step then, Mike, if let's say people are watching this video and they're not already set up with their own angel investor, but they're interested now, they understand that they can actually build a bigger portfolio maybe quicker by using angels. How do they go about finding these people?
I just knock on next door, see if we've got any cash. Look, I think it's a case of, well, it's two things. First and foremost, early on in your journey, and this has been said about business a lot, the people that buy in, the people that loan early doors when you're into a new venture are friends, family and idiots. That's a well-known saying. So in the first instance, look closely around you. What I will say is that probably half the people watching will have just said, my network's not got any money, or I've been brought up on the council estates, blah 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 blah. Let me tell you for a fact, there is pots of cash in all sorts of places that you do not know are there and you don't think they're there, because cash is handed down. Granny died and left us all 30 grand, and we've been sitting there and we don't know what to do with it. There's a lot of that. There's little windfalls, there's little wins, there's savers that they don't particularly earn any money, but they're an absolute belter of us, and they've managed to save £50,000. You've got all the flip side of that, the people that don't necessarily know how to get return on their money, but if they knew what you could offer, they may well sort of get access to further money, like refinancing residential properties, etc., etc. So there is money out there. It's everywhere. Don't attack it with the mindset of I don't know anybody with any money, because it's just not true. Secondly, as soon as you're operating with that mindset, then it's really a case of going to work on you. And I think we've had this conversation before where it's about becoming somebody that people would trust, and about becoming well educated in your sector, watching plenty of videos like this, being around the sort of people doing it, and actually work harder on yourself than you do at anything else, and turn yourself into somebody that people would look to invest their money with, and certainly trust with their money. Now, that's not an overnight process, and it's not a black and white process. You don't wake up 3 years from now like, boom, I'm that guy. It's an evolution, and along the way of that evolution, people will put some faith in you. So you've got to really look hard in the mirror there, turn it internally, work on yourself really hard, personal development and all the rest of it. Go to work there. So, again, loads of us have done it. So if there's something that somebody else has done, you can do it. You just need to attack it with the right mindset.
I can imagine you've really inspired people there, Mike, to go out and find angels now. Is there like one thing, one action that they could do today to spark that, to start that process and maybe reach out to those people?
To be honest, the first thing that springs to mind is just about changing the topic of conversation. If you're hanging out with your mates, and this is probably where everything starts, okay? If you're hanging out with your mates and the usual topic of conversation is, football and birds, and that's really un-PC, but hi, welcome. Just shift that topic of conversation. See if the people that you're associated with have any sort of interest or education around how to get a return on their money, or how to better themselves from a financial position. Two things are going to come off that. One, you might spark interest. Two, you might get abuse. If you get abuse, you need to change your cycle. You need to get around people where that conversation is something that is at least palatable. Mm-hmm. Along that journey, people will come with you, and you will also lose people. Mm-hmm. That's natural evolution. If you're growing, it's a good thing. It's happened to me in the last 7 years pretty heavily, but it happens gradually. So you don't have to stand up away from the pub, put your pint down, tell everybody they're a loser, and walk out. It's nothing to do with that. But as you shift your perception and your interest, then it will happen with your friendship group. So again, it's an internal thing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's an internal thing that you need to shift in you, change your perception and your interest and your education, and over time, good things will come to the pie.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's anything that someone can do to become more investable?
I think there's a lot. If we're not careful, we're gonna deep dive into perception. And what I've seen from a lot of people, closely followed by, you need to post about investing on social media 20 times a day and this, that, and the other. We're an investment company here. Did £22 million worth of property last year, and we still only post on social media once a day, for God's sake. So you can't. I do not believe in fake it until you make it. It's all wrong. Don't go out there trying to be perceived as an expert when you're not. Just walk the talk. Mm-hmm. Just get out there and learn. Get out there, get around good people, and share those experiences 100% with friends, family, and by all means social media on a wider basis. But be patient. Mm-hmm. If we're trying to change our stars, and we're really trying to go from rags to riches, if you will, build that sort of long-term lasting wealth, you can't BS it. It doesn't happen that way. So by all means share your experience in social media, but I think you just gotta walk the talk and do it properly. I've seen loads of people sort of come and go and try and BS their way through, and for me, well, there's no integrity in it, and I just can't see how it works. Cool, well, I'm glad we came in, mate. Thanks for allowing me to drag you off the floor. Probably needs to get back on the phone to our investors. To try and recap what is a ramble predominantly about angel investors. Capital angel investors, big angel investors that will allow you to do deals with their money. They'll wait for their interest till the end of the term. That's really useful. You can always plug in sort of the cash flow angel investors that in an ideal world, you get their interest rate down a little bit, but you can service them from the cash flow of your property. It isn't ideal. It's not the best thing in the world, but it can be done. And if you're capitally low, then you've got to get solution orientated and see how you can scale. Of course, to scale, you can do flips and you can gain capital, but that wasn't the conversation that we're talking about. To become somebody that people invest in and sort of work on yourself, for all the advice that we just panned out. I think for me, it's about looking really hard in the mirror, working harder on yourself than you do on anything else, and become somebody that can change their stars and become somebody that other people will invest in. Hopefully we've added some value to you today. Thanks, Jake, for coming in again. If we did add some value or any clarity for you and your property journey going forward, please subscribe, like, share, do all that good stuff, and we'll come back to you real soon.